Hi, welcome to They Train Players and We Train Winners. Mark Jeffrey here. So this one is entitled How to Play Your Best When It Matters the Most. And that is a massive one-off skill and it's a huge topic, but I'm going to give you some real value in this short video. So the first thing really to know is that gives us straight back into caveman times, where at critical moments, under pressure, life or death, we get straight into freeze or flight or fight. And even when we get to fight mode, it's no use fighting with our necks bulging and our eyes out there and us being stiff. That won't help you. We need to fight like Muhammad Ali, loose, relaxed, with freedom. And see, that transition is a tricky one, and why few people, if any, train it. So a couple of stories that you would have been familiar with, and I just want to get you right back now to Wimbledon Centre Court. If you've never ever won Wimbledon before, I think these matters most is more important than if you won Wimbledon a few times. But let's just go back to, you're now at Wimbledon Centre Court. It is the final, and all your life, ever since mummy and daddy gave you your first racket and you got tuned in and addicted to this thing called tennis, all the way up, all the ages, all the ability levels, all the tournaments, all the hopes and aspirations and the dreams and the subconscious was putting you into this very moment. Centre Court, a chance to be crowned Wimbledon champion. And we've seen it before. Two things which turned me on to big point player training in the first place was, without mentioning names, but it's the ladies' final. The underdog, not expected to win, got to a position of winning. She just had to close out. And then, you know, the nightmares happened, the meltdown happened. She could even barely walk at the end, never mind hold the racket and play. And it went from making a few mistakes to making more mistakes. And then, you know, everybody felt for her. The crowd, you know, like, just finish this agony now. So she got to the stage of needing to play her best when it mattered the most, and couldn't. Played her worst. Played worse than when she was a 5-year-old probably. So the occasion, the crowd, the royal box, the millions of worldwide audience, all the things that she had witnessed over many years were all there, and she meltdown. The very next day, as it happened, was the men's final, and it was one of those few epic 5-set extraordinary world-class tennis, each and every single point with a little ebb and flow. And we got to the end of the 5th set, crunch time, and one of them played even more godlike than they had been godlike for 4.5 hours. And unlike the previous day when the commentator said, has anybody anywhere in the world ever satisfactorily said, what is this thing called pressure and why it invades heart, mind and soul, and what we're watching today, which is, you know, so unpleasant. This time the commentator said, this is amazing, this is a world-class 5-set epic match. You can cut the tension with a knife, it's so pressure-packed. Yet Djokovic, as it happened, has raised his game still further. He's playing the best tennis of this match with relaxation and freedom. He is a big point player, and that's when it occurred to me. The number of times you hear people going, he or she is a big point player, godlike status, plays their best when it matters the most, and no one ever in the same breath says, and here's how you can become one too. No, go and find it out for yourselves. Two situations, live situations for me. One is pre-training, and I'll tell you it, but we've all been there. And one is après training. So the pre-training is playing for the Army, number 1, against the RAF number 1, court number 6, grass at Wimbledon. In our own little way, centre court, big crowd, lots of things ride upon. Crowd, the Army and the RAF, you know, gather round. We've got umpire, we've got linesman. We're on the grass courts of Wimbledon, for goodness sake, and the ivy in the centre court is right behind it, you know. And honestly, just walking into Wimbledon, never mind playing on the courts, this is not normal tennis. This is very, very different tennis. The whole history and sense of occasion invades you. And I also was the underdog, not expected to beat Peter Harding, flight lieutenant at the time. And I got to 2 match points, and the crowd that was there to start with became bigger and bigger as the Army went, come and watch Mark, he's about to win. And when we won a point, and when the RAF won a point, it was and I had 2 match points. And I served really well down the middle, cut out the errors. He returned serve well. I volleyed deep, and it was deep down the middle, and he flapped a backhand at it, which was, I won't say it's pathetic, but he just flapped a backhand out of it. The ball, and I was at the net, over the net strap. It only had to hit my strings. It could have gone anywhere in the court, and I would have won. And it hit the net cord and bounced over my racket. If ever, and I lost that point, still had 1 match point. So if ever there was a time when I needed to play my best at the most important, that was it. 1 match point. And I went straight into shot fear. How unfair. And I never got out of that nuclear bomb that invaded my brain and body, and about 2 or 3 minutes later the umpire dutifully was saying game, set and match, but it was to Flight Lieutenant Peter Harding, not Lieutenant Mark Jeffrey. How can you raise your game? How can you play your best when it matters most? And it's not about a top tip. It's not like, oh, at these occasions breathe and think about this. No, because on those occasions your brain is scrambled eggs. So this is a massive shift in who you are and what you know you're capable of. This is about automaticity. This is things that just kick in because that is who you are now. This is not about a little top tip and a secret and a sports psychology thing. No, it doesn't happen. So a few years on now, I've been researching, I've been testing, I've been doing the training. You cannot help but take on the training yourself. So now, 65 at the time, with my 65-year-old partner playing in the Army Masters plus 45 against 2 people that play for the A squad, 6'4", huge, powerful. We were not quite so powerful, and we lost the first set in probably about 10 minutes, 6-1. We won very few points. They served, smashed it. If we got it returned, they just knelt it away. When we served, they just dealt with it imperiously. It was embarrassing. And I remember looking up after the first set, looking up at the balcony and the spectators, and looking for some help. And all I got were faces that turned because they go, oh, this is embarrassing. It was like tumbleweed down. Even my supporters had made an excuse to go. Apart from one big point player trained, Mr. Dave Perry, Staff Sergeant now, who said to those doubting Thomases there, if there's a way, Mark Jeffrey will find a way. So we got into the second set, and we actually they broke serve. They served out at 5-4, I think. We broke serve, got into a tie break. Training kicks in. How to play your best when it matters the most. We nailed the tie break, so we were now into the championship tie break, 10 points. Again, raised the game. Played best when it matters the most. Won the tie break, won the final. Everybody afterwards said that was the biggest turnaround in tennis that we've ever seen in our lives. And not to big me up, but both the opposition said to me, you raised your game 20 to 30% in the tie breaks. Dominated, took it by the scruff of the neck. It's not because I'm a more talented player, but the training, automaticity kicked in. Critical moments, pressure, raise your game, play my best when it matters the most. So we know that it works. So these occasions are when you hear the phrase time and time again, do you rise to the occasion or do you fall to the level of your training? Well, if you have no training, you've got a long way to fall. So you're now in what everybody does. It's called winning spirit. Do your best, reactive, hope, it's chance. Whereas if you've got training, it's now called winning mentality. Very different. So what is the training then? And in a nutshell, the training consists of a few disparate elements all brought together at the same time to create what's called W, myelin, automaticity. This is who you are, this is who you know yourself to be and what you're capable of. And in broad terms, it consists of a few things. So one is about mental state. You need to be process driven, not outcome focused or attached on the outcome. And the more that you're 100% in the present and process driven, that's great. That's in our 3D framework, that's the x-axis. The y-axis is about the ability to execute. Do you do it by logic, by conscious mechanical brain, freeze frame by freeze frame, processing information at about 50 bits per second, and there are millions of bits per second coming your way? Or can you go up the y-axis right to the very top, which is about instinct and trust and your subconscious intuitive brain that processes information at 14 million bits per second? We all know, we all say on the practice court, oh, I play so well when I don't think about it and I'm relaxed. But when it matters the most and you have to play your best, you need to be in relaxed and non-thinking mode, and that requires some training. So we have mental state, we have the ability to execute, and if that's not enough, we have to train self and emotions as well. So the training about belief, you can train belief in yourself, in the plan, the ability to execute the plan, and the team. Belief leads to certainty. So in an area of doubt and vagueness, which is what we're talking about, the person that has the most certainty will probably win. And then you need training in composure of self, because composure leads to detachment from the outcome and the ability to have adaptability. What are the small hinges that open the big doors? And then grit and resilience. And you train all of this under simulated pressure, so that when pressure hits you, you're already pressure inoculated. It's your best friend. So that's the training, and I really hope you got some value out of this. And if you like it, please subscribe, because you'll get 2 videos every single week and you'll be the first to get it. Secondly, once you subscribe and you've got one big thing that stops you, let me know and I'll do a video just about it. So like it, share this with your tennis friends, obviously not the people you want to beat, and click this link if this training has been helpful, because there is a free guide all about the trust method and how you can become a big point player and know that you can play your best when it matters the most.